All right, and welcome, come one, come all. This is Clinton Isco, and I'm here with your NBA Talk Podcast. It's going to be a little update for the day, giving you a little NBA. I'm just going to give you a little insight on every single team, literally every single team, all 30 teams, giving you a recap of the season and also how their future holds for the season. And I'm either going to give you a little insight or I'm just going to let you know that they exist, because some don't deserve any more than just the fact that they exist. Not deserve in terms of them being bad people. They just don't deserve because it's just kind of not a lot of topics on them. But like I said, I am here with Aaron Davis, Robert Aaron Davis, or Bob, as we like to call him, and he is here as well. So he'll give you a little insight as well with whatever he feels necessary. But we're going to go right along with this. We've got a lot of teams to go through. First up, the Boston Celtics, who pretty much just lost their zeal when it comes to their little trifecta that was made them dominant in the league, got them a championship. They've all kind of, I think the oldness has kind of hit them. They're kind of starting to look like just the people that are going to be the backups on random teams, here in the next few years. I don't see them. Rajon Rondo is obviously good, but I don't see them being the Celtics anymore. So I think they should look beyond. I think they should look past that as being, the Celtics we've come to know. And I think people are trying to still hold on to it because the idea was pretty cool. But especially now that we got the trifecta with the Heat and everything, I think it's gone. So. I think get rid of the trifecta Celtics, move on with Rajon Rondo, maybe even Paul Pierce, and then make a new Celtics team. All right, the New Jersey Nets, they exist. New York Knicks obviously are interesting right now. They have, mainly just because Jeremy Lin has obviously been the face of the NBA right now, but they've lost everything that got them going in terms of momentum, as they've lost 6 games in a row with Jeremy Lin playing. Jeremy Lin's still playing good, which is why I actually think this was good, not only for Jeremy Lin, but also for the NBA, as I keep going for the NBA's sake. And because if he was, it would be kind of cool if he kept winning, but he obviously wasn't just going to literally, score 50 points and win 40 games in a row. So that wasn't going to be too good. But even if he would have won, win 2, lose 1, win 2, lose 2, that kind of setup, it still would have. There's still kind of idea of he's the hero, and that after a while that would have gotten old, and therefore people would have kind of gotten rid of the NBA. But there's this kind of idea that the team's lost it, but he's still trying to help them up, and then especially if they come back and get into the playoffs and do something, then I think that'd be better than just him kind of being this weird, consistent, but not obviously overpowering consistent player, and they go on through. And right now they're not even in the the top 8 in their conference, which is the top 8 going to the playoffs. So they really need to work on it. They can't keep going on this slide. But like I said, I think it's good for the sake of Jeremy Lin and how that worked out. I think too much hype would have kind of overdone it and has kind of made it seem like it was just a fad and not an actual professional sport like we want it to be. All right, Sixers. They're one of my teams I have as being watch out for them in the playoffs kind of team because they don't have a lot of pizzazz in terms of their players or anything. Especially like Iguodala and all that stuff. Obviously, they're good and they can do things. But the reason why people don't really rank them that high or talk about them because they pretty much they beat the teams that are worse than them. They'll lose by a couple points to teams better than them. But every once in a while, they'll beat teams better than them. But not really on a big scale. And usually it's like a day game, so it's never talked about that much. So I think if they if they're playing, they're going to be playing a 5 seed. They beat that 5 seed. If they can beat the Bulls or whatever in the playoffs, which would probably be the 1 seed, then they could. There's a team to watch out for because there's always that team in the playoffs that you have to watch out for that are kind of in the somewhat lower seeds. The Raptors, they exist. The Bulls, again, they're kind of having those moments where they're losing it, but I'd still say they're the best overall team. Right now in terms of the defense. Their defense is just so good. But the Heat are the same way as well, and I'll get to them. So watch out. I haven't given up on the Bulls yet in terms of their overall consistency, so keep on that. Cavaliers exist. The Pistons exist. The Pacers, you want to, are another one of those kind of Sixers, except it's just the fact that they really don't have any players going for them. They kind of just are a team. They work together. They're like a 7 seed right now, and I see them kind of being a fun team to watch. Don't see them really overpowering the teams like the Heat and the Bulls, but it would be a fun team to watch in the playoffs just to make some, make it more tiring, or at least make it a longer series to go on to the playoffs for the teams that want short series in the beginnings. And the Bucks, they exist, and the Hawks, I don't want to say exist, but there's some. I'd say you can kind of watch out for them too. They still the Joe Johnson, Josh Smith thing is you want it to be so good, and it almost seems like the past 5 years, it's going to be like, oh yeah, here pretty soon. They're young, but here pretty soon they're going to be an awesome team. But it's never happened. It's not that they're old. They're still the same team. But they're always just like the 4 or 3 seed. They're never the best, but they could be good. And so it's always interesting watching them. And then the Heat, obviously, are kind of debated as being the best team right now, just because of the trifecta and mainly their defense. Actually, a lot of people, especially most critical analysts, have said it's because of their defense that actually makes them good, which is kind of interesting in terms. We usually don't think of when you have big star players, we don't think of their defensive work, but that's actually what the teams worked well as, whether it be the coaches' work or them being just good players in general. It's worked for them. So again, I'm actually a Mavericks fan, so I don't really. I'm going to be talking about that later, and I obviously was rooting for them in the championship last year, and I've always kind of had a grudge after the 2006 championship with them, and obviously I just think LeBron James is, I'm not one of those people that usually bashes on people, because, if I ever was asked you to meet up with somebody up front, I wouldn't say anything rude about them right now. Hey, how you doing, LeBron? Hey, this is Clint. How you doing? Hey, you suck. I'm not going to do stuff like that, but in general, I just think that whether he was hiding it or it was, it just showed up because he came to the Heat. His confidence / arrogance is really just going really over the roof, and it really seems like he owns the world right now. I mean, you'll see random things about him helping with charities and stuff, but I think that's just part of contracts, to tell you the truth, but maybe I'm wrong. I hate to invoke that and then meet him and then see it's wrong. But either way, if I did meet him in person, I would tell him, a little tone down the arrogance, or think about what you do as a basketball player and how do people look up to him, and just he literally thinks like, okay, well, we're the best team in the world now, so now everybody has to look up to me, and it's kind of weird to see that instead of just being this kind of Cleveland guy that was saving the town and the team. But that's enough of the Heat. I didn't want to talk about the Heat when I put them on the team's list, but what do you know? The Magic. They are boring enough. They're going to keep going. It's so boring to watch for me. They got Dwight Howard, but whenever there's a center that's just your basic dominant center, it kind of ends there. Wizards exist. Bobcats exist. Mavericks, my team. They're one of those teams that just right now, it's the same thing as last year too. We were like a 6 seed, this far in the lane. We didn't really look that great, and we just kind of towards the end came out, and then we obviously do have the talent. It just hasn't shown yet. And there's a lot of teams don't have the talent, but sometimes they just get the wins. And right now we don't really have as many wins, but I can see the talents there. Even objectively, I know obviously Dirk's good, and we did the same thing last year. So we'll see how it goes from there. Rockets are another one of those underground teams. Watch out for them. There's only 3 or 4, the teams right now that are legit good and could win the championship just aren't talked about. I say the Rockets are one of those. Grizzlies exist. The Hornets do exist. Matter of fact, Spurs, obviously a boring team. Watch out for them. They're going to be good. Nugs. These guys are Carmelo Anthony lists, and they kind of work around it though, and it's kind of fun to watch, and especially with just the way they know they don't have Carmelo Anthony, so they kind of have a team base. I like things that work as teams. At the end of the day, it's supposed to be a team sport. Timberwolves, they exist. Blazers also exist. You could watch out for them later on. Thunder, great team. I see them kind of being besides the Bulls being the perfect of just everything around. They've really worked on the defense, perfect offense. We'll see how they go. The Jazz, and Aaron, aren't you actually originally from Utah?
No, I'm not.
Okay, that's wrong. Thank you, Aaron. So we also have the Warriors, Golden State. They exist. The Clippers, so fun to watch. I'd probably say the most fun team to watch right now, just because of the way Blake Griffin's fun to watch. Chris Paul is obviously an awesome addition to him, but how they work as a team in the playoffs, I'd say they have to wait till next year until they get a championship. But you never know. I think if it didn't work with the Heat last year, I don't see it working with just Blake Griffin and Chris Paul this year. So I'd say wait till next year. But either way, they're so fun to watch. So I'd say if you ever see a Clippers game on TNT or something like that, you should watch the whole thing. Lakers, they're always just because of who they are, and as long as you have Kobe Bryant, they're going to be a push. And so you always have to watch out for them. So I'm definitely not saying that they're out of it, but they're obviously not the same dominant Lakers team we've come to know. And the Suns exist and the Kings exist. So the main thing about this is about the Kings, and as long as we know they exist, it's getting up here pretty soon, and the playoffs are going to be on their way. March Madness will let that end. I'm a pretty big fan of that right now, but once the playoffs get going, these teams are going to have to show what they got. And I think as long as that helps the NBA and Jeremy Lin, I really want the Knicks to get in because of the way the world views Jeremy Lin. And as long as that keeps going, then we can do it like that. So that is all I have to say. Thank you, Aaron, for your insight. Good old Bobby Aaron, and thanks a lot.